Welcome to the Nasboys podcast. Now, did you know that every winner of the Daytona 500 in a year that ends with 3 has either won 7 Cup drivers or once drove for the Wood Brothers? So Tiny Lund, for example, he drove with the Wood Brothers. Richard Petty, he has 7 titles. Cale Yarborough, he drove with Wood Brothers. Dale Jarrett, Wood Brothers. Michael Waltrip, I think he also drove with Wood Brothers. Yeah, he did. Jimmy Johnson, 7 titles. And then Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but he did make a few starts with Wood Brothers before he went full-time in the Cup Series. The credit to that goes to Seth Sharp 35 on Twitter. So anyways, guys, welcome to the Nasboys podcast. I'm your very congested host, Mike, a.k.a. Mike Fob Fan 101, with my good friends and co-host, Christian, a.k.a. Savage NASCAR.
What to do, Nasboys crew, and yeah, that was a very interesting stat. And yeah, we got a lot to talk about today. And also, we have Cam.
Yes. Howdy, y'all. I would like to say that NASCAR is a conspiracy. That's right. We're going full Joe Rogan today. I'm playing, not really.
Noticed _Cam, everybody on Instagram. So let's get down to talking about the weekend's races at Daytona, the first official points weekend for NASCAR. Boys, I think we want to try something a little bit different. Let's talk about the Daytona 500 first.
Yeah, you know, this is our first episode of the season where we're talking about the races and everything. And this Daytona 500 again was sold out. So props to them. But it looked amazing down there. The weather thing. It didn't rain this year, yay. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm tired of seeing the 500 get rained out. But yeah, a lot of people on over there, and it looks so fun. Beginning of the race, obviously, there's a lot of lead changes. In fact, in this race, I think there was 59 lead changes, if I'm correct. 52
Wasn't that
actually.
like if you don't mind me interrupting, wasn't that like the second or third most in all of NASCAR history for the Daytona 500?
For the 500, it's in the top 5.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Yes.
Yeah, and it was pretty interesting. We saw Kyle Busch come up from the back multiple times in that race up towards the front. And we saw a lot of guys that fell a lap down come back onto the lead lap, like Bubba Wallace, who hit the wall in the backstretch early in the race.
Wallace had moved to that top line to get from behind the 14, who he said was unsteady. Well, once he moved to the top line, he got hit into the fence and had to come pit, guys.
Right side damage to Bubba Wallace. They'll put 2 tires on it. Send him back out. He was running second.
Keselowski and RFK Racing was really strong, and I thought Keselowski had a shot to win. Same thing with Chris Busch or Chastain won stage 2 barely, but he wasn't much of a factor in the race other than in that stage. And I really enjoyed the green flag pit stops, to be honest with you, because the last couple 500s, we haven't seen much of that. So we saw a lot of green flag pit stops. We saw Riley Herbst spin out 4 times, and one of his spins was going on the pit road.
Screen locks up the rear brake, spins around coming to pit road, but no caution flag
during a green flag pit stop. But man, it was a better 500 than last year. That is for sure, in my opinion. There was a lot of wrecks there at the end, which kind of made it a little but not a bad race. I know there were some people, obviously everyone complains about anything that happens in NASCAR nowadays. Anyone complain about anything. So, but yeah, props to Stenhouse Jr. He worked his way up there and he got the victory. And, you know, he barely held off Logano. Logano was really strong in this race, but Stenhouse started 31st, which is absolutely wild to work his way up there. We saw AJ work his way up there to a 6th place finish. He started in 29th. And yeah, the wrecks at the end took out guys like Kyle Busch and Keselowski, Dylan, who were up there in the final laps. They just got shuffled to the back. Kyle Larson, he rebounded from 2 spins. So, I mean, I thought it was a W in my books. What about y'all?
Yeah, I want to say congrats to Stenhouse. My boy finally got a dub under his plate, you know. Took him a while, but he's getting there. He's getting there, all right?
Like those paint schemes. Oh.
yeah, he's getting there. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, Joey Logano coming in second, you know, It was a little upsetting not to see him get the win, but what can I say? We're coming off a championship last year. I can't really complain too much. You know what I mean, baby? You know what I mean? We had Christopher Bell coming in at third. I thought he had a pretty good race. I tell you, I think Christopher Bell has a very bright future ahead of him in NASCAR. I could seriously see him being something crazy good. You also saw Daniel Suarez coming in at seventh. My boy in the 99. I feel like Suarez is really upgraded. And overall it was a good race. There was a lot of crashes for sure. A lot of pileups too, not just like small crashes. But if I had to give it a rating, I'd probably give it like a 8 out of 10. It's a classic Daytona.
Yeah, it was a really good race, which is great because the last couple of 500s have been good, but not necessarily great. We saw typical Daytona action, obviously people working together a lot. One team that really impressed me with the way they were working together was RFK. RFK had both of their cars in the top 5 for a lot of the race, and it looked like one of their cars was going to win, but unfortunately just stuff happens. We saw Bubba Wallace. He really impressed me. I knew he was a good plate racer, but like Christian mentioned, he hit the wall. He got shoved by Martin Truex. I'm sure I put it on the screen, but if you guys could not tell, he got shoved a little too hard by Truex, just ended up going into the wall. He made his way back up all the way to 6th, but then unfortunately got caught up in the last lap melee. We saw what's their faces? Richard Childress Racing even. They had a really strong run, and they're not known for being the best plate racers. Kyle Busch looked like he was almost going to do it, but then he ended up kind of getting screwed out of it a little bit. And then I believe they both wrecked as well, if I'm correct. Let's see. I called it with Stenhouse. I said Stenhouse was my dark horse pick. Christian, you were there with me to witness, so that way nobody that watches this video for the first time thinks that I'm just being a bandwagoner and acting like I knew it all. I called it. But no, in all seriousness, congratulations to Stenhouse, man. He really deserves a Daytona 500. He got screwed out of it last season. He's always up there in the front, and he's a really, really great plate racer. He's not the best racer in general, but his plate racing is phenomenal, even with his wrecking. He just knows exactly what to do. What else really happened in this race? Ryan Blaney got taken out as well in a multi-car accident. That really sucks. But one thing I wanted to point out that was kind of a personal thing for me was the Guns N' Roses car that Eric Jones drove. If you haven't seen that, here it is on the screen. That was, excuse my language, but I have to say it, that was absolutely badass. I love Guns N' Roses. I've been a fan of them since I was 5 years old. My dad is a huge, huge GNR fan. They were my first ever concert. And to see them on a NASCAR car was just surreal to me. I never expected to see that. When I saw the entry list, I saw Guns N' Roses. I'm like, no way. Because we had a similar situation, for those of you that didn't know, with Mr. Beast. He was going to sponsor a truck, which was around the Subscribe to PewDiePie era. And then he ended up not sponsoring it. I don't know why. But to see Guns N' Roses on the car was just really cool. And it was a shame it got taken out.
Yeah, Jones was pretty strong on that race. He worked his way up there and, he got wiped out. Another driver that actually led laps in this race was Noah Gragson in the 42 Wendy's car. That was quite an interesting car there. I know not a lot of people liked that scheme or Bubba Wallace's scheme, but both of them were up front at times. Eric Almirola, my guy Eric, he was so close. Like, he led a lot during that race. He led 16 laps, but he was up front almost the entire day. Kyle Busch, if he had more help from Dylan on the inside lane and more people on the inside lane, he could have probably done it, but it just didn't work out. If that caution didn't come out for Suarez blowing his tire and spinning, he could have won that thing. I mean, those wrecks there at the end did take out a lot of cars that were up front. Harvick actually was up front for a lot of that race too. Shearhouse Racing really impressed me. Ryan Preece in the 41, even though he finished 36th, he got caught in a wreck. He led laps. So I feel like not only RFK Racing, but I feel like Shearhouse Racing is going to be better this year than they were last year. I could see Shearhouse Racing winning 6 races this year. 6 as a team.
Christian, I was just getting ready to actually point out Stewart-Haas Racing. They all seem to really be working together well as a team. All four of their cars were strong. Eric Almirola, of course, you mentioned he led laps. Kevin Harvick looked a little, he wasn't the best, but he was still up there until he got taken out. Priest got taken out as well. He didn't do too bad, but Almirola was another guy that really impressed me, and I knew that he was a great plate racer, obviously. So that was really cool to see SHR finally getting back a little bit to what they used to be able to do, I guess, in a way.
Gator was making fun of me for having Alex Bowman in my fantasy lineup, but look where he finished. He finished fifth, so haha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. But yeah, my fantasy lineup did pretty well. I actually got third in our league. I think Hayden won and Henry was second, if I'm correct, and you were fourth. I think me and Mike
I
tied.
tied with third for you.
Yeah, and Caden wasn't even in the chat, and he still won. So I don't even know how that's possible. But anyways,
Well,
Cam, do you have
hold
anything
up a
else to
second.
add about the race?
I was gonna say I just looked over the results, and apparently now all of a sudden it says Matt, you call Dr. Jones won the race. I'm not joking. Look at
What?
this. Look at this cheese. If it would load.
I can't see it.
Well, you can kind of see it a little bit, but yeah.
Oh,
You
well, I got
finished
second now. Okay. Well,
So
all my
yeah,
drivers did well except for Blaney. Blaney got wiped out early. I picked him to win, and then nope, he just gets caught up in another wreck in the 500. It's never in for him.
so my
Never works out
fantasy
for him.
picks, I finished fifth officially in our league, and my fantasy picks were Joey Logano, who did not do that bad. Austin Cindric, he didn't do that bad. Bubba Wallace had a pretty solid comeback. Michael McDowell, he did okay, and then he got taken out, I believe. And then Brad Keselowski. And then Ryan Blaney, of course, but unfortunately just did not do that good. He got wrecked. But he was in the front for some of the race from what I saw. So, yeah, overall, if I had to give the race a rating, I want to give it around maybe an 8 out of 10, 7, 8.
I would give it a 7 or a 6.8. I did want to point out Jimmy Johnson and Travis Pastrana. Travis Pastrana was a lap down in that race. He came back and finished 11th. He actually led 2 laps by staying out there in green at one point. And Zane Smith finished 13th. But Riley Herbst, even though he was Mr. Wreckfest, he finished 10th. But Jimmy Johnson was up front. He worked his way up to the front. And he looked like a contender. He could finish in the top 5, but he ended up getting wrecked, which is no surprise because Johnson wrecks a lot on super speedways. So that's all I really have to add about the race.
It feels kind of weird calling Jimmy Johnson, of all people, like the dark horse, and saying that Jimmy Johnson impressed me because just of how his history is. But Jimmy Johnson really impressed me. I think that he still can drive a NASCAR car. He just got unlucky. He got hit at the last second in that one of the last big ones. If he didn't get that nose damage toward the end, I think he would have had a top 10, maybe even a top 5 easily. He did a great job that race and looked like the old Jimmy Johnson that we all used to love. So now I guess we can talk about what the people had to say. But before I pull that up, Cam, do you have any other final thoughts?
No, I do not. I think overall it was just a pretty good race. And then, to go off what Christian said, he is right, man. Blaney has just never had the best of luck. He gets so close to winning, and then something happens every single time. I root for Blaney a lot, man, because he just always has that underdog story and presence to him, and he just never gets it done.
True. Very true. So 14% of you guys said great. 50% said good. 29% said man/okay, and nobody said bad. Let's see. We got Dalton 6, Malak 42 says, just like every restrictor plate race, entertaining competitive racing, etc. 8 out of 10. Henry 24257 says, a solid 500 with lots of pit strategy. They threw the yellow a little late, in my opinion, but I wish they would race back. I guess now I can talk a little bit about the finish because my driver was affected by that finish. Yeah, I kind of see his point. I wish that they would race back because they weren't going to make it back to the area where the wreck happened anyway, since the race would have been over. But I guess they're worried about the cool down lap with how cars would probably
Yeah.
still be everywhere and there'd be debris. So I guess that's why. But it would have been cool to have them race back to the yellow and checkered instead of ending it under just a yellow. So like they used to do, like in '98, for example. So yeah, that I can see his point there, and I wish they could have, because Joey got affected by it. I thought he won, which was crazy because I thought he won because it said Logano first, and then the yellow happened. So I was like, wait, that's it? He won. I yelled like that, and then all of a sudden I saw Stenhouse's crew. I'm like, why are they showing these people? And then Stenhouse got the lead. I'm like, please don't make it Stenhouse. And I heard, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is gonna win the Daytona 500. I was like,
I'm not gonna
but
lie.
I am happy for him. I am happy for him though.
I'm not gonna lie. Me and my grandpa breathed a huge sigh of relief when we saw Stenhouse at number one instead
Come
of
on, Joey's not that
fair.
bad.
I didn't want to hear it, bro. I didn't want to hear. I no offense. I didn't want to hear. Oh my God, I won the 500 from a billion people in group chats and have to live with it for the entire week. So I'm sorry,
Okay, Christian. To be fair, I
I
would have
was
been.
so happy to get one.
I would have been respectful. To be fair, I just would have worn all my Logano gear. That's all.
Okay.
And to go on, but I also want to talk about this real quick, which I know we might or might not talk about later. Which is the whole like Kyle Busch and Logano thing that happened. Man, I just want to say this now. Logano wasn't really helping his case by talking, you know,
Talking
like
smack, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't helping his case at all because that was on Logano. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong though. I don't think he should have took it as much to heart because it was not even for points. Like it didn't really even matter, you know.
Right.
And I think a lot of people that night were kind of racing like jerks, but I don't think Logano probably should have bragged. That was something that I was like, well, all right, you want to.
Yeah, really quick. I believe we talked about this already, but I'll just like give a quick summary of my thoughts in case somebody missed it. It was clearly on Logano. It was an accident. He didn't mean to drive it in that deep. He apologized for it. And I understand why Kyle Busch is mad. Kyle Busch was having a good race, and then he ended up getting taken out by somebody who's notoriously an aggressive racer. So I get why he's upset. But Kyle Busch didn't need to say like he was two-faced because no crap, he's two-faced. That's the way you got to be as a competitor. You can't be everybody's best friend when you're all on the same page to try to win the race. And Kyle Busch has been dirty as well. I'll leave it at that. He's done some stupid crap. Yeah. And you know what? That's a part of racing. Every driver in the field has done something really stupid. And for NASCAR media to kind of like hype the beef up, I know why. They're just trying to get more people to click, but that's not the way to do it. NASCAR fans think it's old, and non-NASCAR fans don't really care that much. So to try to get the clicks off of it, it's not going to work with that beef.
Yeah, well, let's not forget that NASCAR was the same company that used Ryan Newman's flip on like 47,000 commercials. So you know.
Yeah, that brings up another thing I wanted to mention too. Like another reason why I feel like they didn't race back to the flag was the last time they did down to 500, we saw Newman's wreck. That same thing happened. There was 3 cars racing towards the end to the finish line, and we saw what happened with Newman. So I think that also played a factor in the decision to throw the yellow.
That's a good point, but I feel like they were far enough back to not have as much racing. But you know, I could be wrong. Somebody could have wrecked. Logano could have blocked. Stenhouse could have blocked. There were a couple of times where I thought there was going to be a bad block and somebody was going to hit the wall before that wreck. So going back into
there was
500,
a lot of push. There was a lot of bad pushes in that race. So, you know, you could see the drivers' heads moving a lot, which is kind of concerning, but you could see a lot of guys lose it from getting hit in the rear.
Right, because they don't fix the back bumper.
Yeah, the back bumper is not the way to go. I'm sorry. Yeah, the cars are slower. The pole speed was 181 miles an hour, which is really slow, and that's slower than some of the 1960s qualifying efforts. And they didn't even have wrapping. So I don't get it. But Is there anything else that people had to say about this race? I know that it was the longest amount of laps that they've had in the 500 with 212.
Well, thoughts on the finish. The official Gator, you know what, says Almirola is a bum.
He's just salty that he led laps.
NASA _ Jose says insane. Dalton says nothing but pain. Yeah, understandable. Sean _ Sullivan 1964 says very wild ending, many restarts, but a very close ending. Yeah, that's another thing we got to talk about when we get into the truck race. This was a very questionable weekend, or very suspenseful weekend.
Yeah,
we got to we got to play the title off like that. Henry says just chaotic. Driver of the day is a tie between Christopher Bell and Jimmy Johnson. I'm going to give it to either Kyle Busch or Bubba Wallace because of their comebacks. Kyle Busch came back because of a speeding penalty, and Bubba Wallace hit the wall. I think I might have to give it to Bubba Wallace because he still had damage on the car.
There's not many days or races or episodes that I've said this for driver of the day, but I'm going with Joey Logano. He was up front all day. He did fall back at one point with about 20 to go. He was back in like 17th, but he was so consistent and he was fast. I have to give it to Joey.
To me,
go ahead, Cam.
I was gonna say, to me, I think I'm gonna give it to Stenhouse. I mean, let's not forget that this man started 31st. And won, and I just feel like, for all the years that he's put up a great fight in the race, I think like every year you've seen him stay consistent and just, like he stayed consistent when he's at Daytona and Talladega and plate races. So because of that, I am going to say that I think he deserves it. And for that, I think he does deserve driver of the day.
And to clarify, Brad Keselowski led 42 laps.
Yeah.
He led the most laps throughout the race, just to point that out as a stat. Other drivers leading laps were Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Bubba Wallace, Eric Almirola, Kevin Harvick, Travis Pastrana, Ross Chastain, Ryan Blaney, Daniel Suarez, AJ Allmendinger, Alex Bowman, Chris Buescher, Christopher Bell, Joey Logano, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the eventual winner. So now I guess we can talk about the Xfinity race. What did you guys think of it?
Xfinity race, man. Oh man. I should have picked him, and Mike got the pick right. He picked Hill, and Hill won. It was his second straight win. And I doubted Austin Hill. He led 39 of the 125 laps. And yeah, I just feel like with the consistency to where there hasn't been a whole lot of back-to-back winners recently in the Xfinity Series, I didn't think he was going to win. The last couple times I remember a driver winning back-to-back at Daytona in the Xfinity Series was Tony Stewart. But honestly, I was hoping Justin Allgaier was going to win that thing. I mean, he's came so close to winning the Xfinity race at Daytona so many times, and it's just been taken away at the last minute. We saw Myatt Snyder. He actually finished 5th, and he's driving in the 19 car this year. For Joe Gibbs. But I'll give a shout out real quick to Joe Graff Jr. He started 29th and he finished 7th. And not only them, but also Stephen Parsons. He filled in on late notice. The driver that was, I think it was Tommy Joe Martins in the 45 had an illness, if I'm correct. I know he owns the car, the 45 Clear Crypto Chevy. But he ended up filling in for the driver that had the illness, and he finished 13th in the race. But yeah, we saw a couple wrecks in this one. Daniel Hemrick, my pick.
Yeah, it looks like the one of Sam Mayer had a good run and thought the middle was going to be open, and it just kind of closed. And unfortunate for the 07 and Daniel Hemrick, who we just talked about before the break, was up there and got in the middle and to the back, and an unfortunate bystander of that one.
Yeah, it's a terrible position to be in if you're the 11. It just seemed like Sam was a little indecisive there. And then
it got wrecked. We saw Blaine Perkins wreck. We saw Sheldon Creed get in a wreck.
Morning.
pushing hard through the tri-oval. It's a tough place to be pushing right there. Car's a little light.
No, actually, yeah, he got into a wreck too. Sam Mayer flipped on the last lap.
Far out there.
It's a big gap. 21 has no help right now. Who's going to get that first run? Here comes the 1.
Sam Mayer's never won in the Xfinity Series. There goes the 1 to the outside of his teammate.
Through the middle of the 21. Oh, my goodness.
Mayer is turned. He's upside down. The caution is out. And now the question becomes, who was leading at the time of caution?
I'll go and say, like, every year I predict to be at least one flip at Daytona, whether it be the Truck, Cup, or Xfinity. But it happened to me on the last lap of the Xfinity race again this year. So I thought it was a good, decent race. It wasn't very exciting, so I'll give it like a 5. But what about you, Cam?
I thought it was an okay race. I was probably going to give it like that, like a 5 maybe. I mean, there was nothing really special about it. It didn't really give me like that normal Daytona vibe, you know. Wasn't as exciting in my opinion. But I will say congrats to Mike on getting his pick right for that. But yeah, like I said, to me, it was just overall a mid race. You know, just a mid. What do you think, Mike?
Well, I say this every time the Xfinity goes to a plate track. I really don't like the format that the Xfinity and trucks do to reduce the pushing. I prefer the Cup Series better because it brings more excitement. But the race was okay. There were some moments that I liked, like the stage 2 finish. Austin Hill did a great job getting out front, or the stage 1 finish, one of the stages. Austin Hill did a great job of pushing the car out front and then getting under him. I felt like that was a very solid move, and he's a very skilled plate racer, way better than his teammate, Creed, in my opinion, in the Xfinity Series. But yeah, the race was okay at best. The main thing I want to talk about was the finish. Obviously, there was a wreck at the end, which caused Sam Mayer to flip over. I saw some stupid guy saying that Hill turned him on purpose, when in reality, it was a miscommunication between the JRM cars. If you haven't seen the wreck, here it is. But yeah, it was a miscommunication between the JRM cars. Allgaier kind of came up. Mayer was coming down to get away from the wall a little bit and to block. And then he got sent up there because Allgaier was going up. It was a really weird flip, however. Like, the roof flaps didn't really deploy on time. He just ended up getting the momentum from Austin Hill and that hit to the wall. So that's a little concerning, but I'm not as concerned about it as the next-gen car. Scary flip. Glad Mayer is all right. One thing that people were talking about is that Nemechek, John Hunter Nemechek, he was driving the 20, for those of you that don't know. He went below the line because he got forced down by Allgaier. I was hoping he did not win the race, because even though he got forced, I still don't want to see somebody go below the line when it's illegal and win the race. And he had Myatt Snyder behind him too, going below the line if you look really closely. So I was like, there's no way this guy should win the race. I knew clearly it was Austin Hill, and I'm glad that he won the race and I got my pick right. And I felt like that was the right call.
You know, Parker Retzlaff finished 4th in the 31 car. That was pretty impressive. But what did the people have to say?
I mean, one other thing that I would like to point out as well is that Jeffrey Earnhardt and Parker Kligerman got into a little bit of an altercation after the race. Just
I have no idea. Is it clear? He said you're clear. That's the big voice.
kind of words because I think Parker spun him out on the last lap, which is understandable why he would be upset. I don't really have an opinion on it because I didn't really get a good look of it. So taking a look at the Xfinity race, 36% said great, 50% said good, 14% said mess okay, and nobody said bad. Henry 24257 says, lots of good racing and deja vu with Hill and Mayer getting flipped, 8 out of 10. Chicken _ man _ NSCR says, good race, amazing finish, but training the last 50 or so laps ruined it.
Fair point.
Thoughts on the finish? Henry says pretty wild. Dalton says pretty wild. Glad Mayer's okay. Driver of the day, Austin Hill. I got to give it to either Austin Hill because he was up in the front for most of the day or Justin Allgaier. He spun out and then came back to the front, almost won. So I might have to give it to Justin Allgaier.
Allgaier did lead the second most laps with 36, and Hill led the most laps with 39. It's a tough one, but I'm going to go with Hill.
And I guess I'm going to break it down the middle. I'm going to go with Allgaier because, Mike made a good point that he came back from spinning out to, back. So, yeah, I give it to Allgaier.
All right, really quickly, before we get into the trucks, let's talk a little bit about the ARCA race. Why not?
Yeah.
It was a little bit interesting. We saw, I can't remember the guy's name, but I know an underdog did win that race. So, Christian, I didn't watch it personally because I don't watch ARCA. I hear like mixed reviews about it. So, Christian, if you want to go ahead and talk about that.
First career win for Greg Van Alst in the Brand 200 ARCA Series race. He's actually 41 years old and he's a fence builder, but he in his interview, he says this is for the short track guys. And it really was. I mean, that move on the last lap, he had help from Jason White, not Jason White, but Connor Mosack, and got by Jason White for the win.
Jesse Love making it 3 wide.
Jesse Love 3 wide into turn 1.
Jason White
continues to lead. Greg Van Alst is there. Connor Mosack.
You're trying to get the run off the nose of the 18, and if you're Jason White, you're just ready to block it because the runs are going to be coming. Right now the bottom's already not very organized and have to generate another run. Your only other opportunity is going to be coming off of turn 4.
It's all Jason White right now, but here comes Greg Van Alst. Ducks out, gets alongside. They're nose to nose. Greg Van Alst to the lead. Connor Mosack comes with him. Out of turn 4, they're wrecking behind him. He does it. Greg Van Alst wins it at Daytona.
It's a great job. Great way to time out the run, be able to be there. He was up front the entire race, had a fast car. Congrats.
He doesn't even want to back off yet.
He's still on the gas.
He's still on the gas. Are you sure?
Great
Are you sure we won this race?
And man, it's huge because I've never heard of him before, and he's from Indiana. He had ran 3 ARCA races in 2002. He quit because he didn't have enough funds, and 20 years later was his next appearance in the series. And man, there was 28 cars that finished this race. There was a couple wrecks towards the end, but man, I'm happy for him. That's for sure. I had another thing I was going to say about it, but I forgot, so we can move on.
Yeah, that is really cool. I knew the guy's name was Greg and something Van, but I just forgot the full name. But thank you, Christian. Definitely a noteworthy moment. So
I just remember now. So Mandy Chick finished 5th and Amber Balkane finished 6th. Both of them, if I'm correct, are female drivers. And Nally Decker 14th.
Yeah.
How am I 7th? I'm just a list.
That was a joke. For those of you that don't know, it's an inside joke between the Nasboys. So, yeah, in all seriousness, though, that was cool to see. Yeah, that was really cool to see, though. The race in general was cool. Maybe I might have to check out ARCA because it seems like a really mixed bag of people.
Yeah. What?
All right. Now, We can talk about the truck race. What did you guys think of it?
Man, I wish of all the races this weekend that, I wish it didn't rain. I wish it didn't rain for the Truck Series race because, I feel like that had a good finish coming with this one. There was guys like Christian Eckes and Tanner Gray. We saw Kobe Howard up there. A lot of guys, Corey Hyman, Tyler Ankrum were a couple other ones that came to mind that I feel like those guys could have made a charge there for the end. But rain cut it short, and it was a late night race. It took a while to call it, but understandable. It did rain. Thankfully, the rest of the weekend was all sunny and dry, and they didn't have any other issues with the rain. But Zane Smith wins yet again. And Zane Smith's definitely one of the top drivers in the lower series. I think he definitely will be in Cup one day. That's for sure. They only made it 79 of the 100 scheduled laps. And it's kind of funny seeing Christian Eckes in the post race interview. He's just salty, honestly. In the interview, he's like, "Oh, if he wins because this Mickey Mouse win, whatever." Boo-hoo.
I think he was joking,
It
though.
would have been cool to. Yeah, he was, but it would be cool to see 19 car win because the 19 car has not won in a long time. Tanner Gray finished second, so that props to him. There was a couple wrecks in this race. One of them took out Dean Thompson. Daniel Dye was in it. Brett Holmes, Haley Deegan got into a wreck as well. Clay Greenfield.
Has been bouncing around a lot. Oh, Daniel Dye's around. And the caution is out. This will be our fourth one of the night. First one for incident.
Clay Greenfield, the 84 truck is involved. This looked like Haley Deegan, the 13, got a piece of that. That's Dean Thompson in the 5. We saw fire out from under the back of that truck.
Matt Bandetto, he was doing pretty decently. He got caught up in some of that mess. And Raja Caruth, honestly, I'm not even surprised Caruth wrecked because I hate to say this, but he wrecks a lot. I've seen him race in other series, and he just gets caught up and wrecks or re-wrecks, especially on dirt tracks. So that's not a shot at him. I'm just saying I'm not surprised he wrecked at all in that race.
Yeah, I noticed that he gets really loose. Like we saw a wreck with him at Dover. I don't know what it is, if he's like driving the car too deep or what, but I noticed a lot of his wrecks start because he got loose, and that's what we saw at Daytona.
Race rating would probably be a 5 or a 4.
Yeah, I'm gonna say mine real quickly. My opinion on it, I thought it was, I can't really give it a good opinion on it, so I am gonna give it like a 3 because we got rained out sadly. Zane Smith gets the dub. Congrats to him. He's definitely a top opponent in this league, and I think overall it was sad to see because the truck series, the trucks kind of changed and modified a little bit, so I was actually really excited to see what they could have done this year, for the Daytona. So now the fact that we have to wait until next time kind of sucks, but it's all right. What do you think, Mike?
I thought the race was all right. Not too much really to add from what you guys had to say. Congrats to Zane Smith, though. He's definitely the best prospect, in my opinion. And I got a prediction for you guys. Zane Smith will be in Cup next year. He will be either in the 38 or the 4 car. That's my prediction.
Full time.
Full time.
Whoa.
Gillen what is driving the 38, but Zane Smith is driving some for front row in the Cup Series.
Right. But the thing is, why I say that is front row, for those of you that probably know, they are kind of pushing Gillen out a little bit. I don't know why, because he's not that bad of a driver. I thought he had a decent rookie season, and they're just kind of pushing him out. Like, I get you want Zane Smith to get experience since he's the front row truck driver. He's probably the top prospect right now in Cup, but you shouldn't push out another good truck or Cup driver just because you want Zane Smith in. So we'll see what happens. I think that's going to, make Todd Gillen feel a little bad. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was a mutual agreement to get Todd out of the ride.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
I would rather Zane go to the 4 car because it just kind of makes sense to me logically, since he is a 4 driver. Harvick's retiring. You don't want Riley Herbst. So unless there's another Cup driver that wants to leave their ride, then in that case, SHR should go all in for them. But for now, my prediction is Zane Smith.
Gotcha. That would be
now. Let's take really quick. Let's take a look at what you guys had to say about the truck race. The 7% said great, 33% said good, 47 said message okay, and 13% said bad. I think we're going to cut this meeting right now, and then after that, we will get into the rest of the thoughts and our picks for Auto Club. And we are back. So what you guys had to say, like the actual thoughts. Dalton says, good racing to start the season off. Unfortunately, just rain had to play a factor. And everybody else just basically said rain. In summary, rain. That's what you guys hated. Rain.
Oh, man, that's crazy.
Driver of the day with 2 votes, Zane Smith. 1 for Matt Crafton. I think I have to agree, Zane Smith.
Yeah, I think it's a unanimous decision here, probably.
All right.
So I guess now we can move on to meme of the week. Only had 2. There wasn't a lot of memes this weekend compared to usual. But the 2 that I had, 2 nominees I had, was by PC Racing. This is the first one. This was by my friend Levi. And it says, Spin House, Daytona 500 winner, tribe outage. Just an old clip of someone dancing. I think that's pretty funny. And then the other one is the Tremendation one of Bubba Wallace's paint scheme. What
the hell are you doing? This is bad. This is very, very bad.
Yeah, Burke, you want to...
It's a questionable scheme, that's for sure. It looks like a test car, which is what a lot of people were saying.
Yeah,
but
it
just had me dying laughing. So did y'all have any other nominees?
I think I got to go with the Tremendation one as my nominee, because that Bubba Wallace scheme is awful. How do you screw up a red and black car?
Yeah, I think I might go with that Tremendation one because that is just a horrible car. I mean, you just want to talk about an absolutely down bad car. That looks like a knockoff Spider-Man movie car, bro. Like if Spider-Man had like a Batmobile, I feel like that would be it. Just way less trash.
True.
Like, just look like garbage. And for it to have and it also didn't it have the McDonald's logo on it too?
Yeah, it was a McDonald's car.
Yeah, it was.
They just screwed it up so much. Like, how do you screw a McDonald's car up, bro?
Freaking disgusting, bro. If you guys know the University of Rutgers, that's what it reminds me of. Absolutely dog trash, bro. Terrible.
Well,
end your career, Bubba. End your career. Not really.
Well, what do you think about the Sonny D number 15 car, which was driven in that race by Riley Herbst? I thought it was good.
I didn't think it was bad. Let me make sure. Can I look at it again? I'm gonna look at it again.
I think it was pretty solid. It's better than the ones that they have with Stenhouse, the Sonny D Stenhouse cars.
Yeah, I liked it. I think it kind of to me it kind of gives it like a innovative, like I don't know. It doesn't look trash. Like it looks new. Meanwhile, Stenhouse just gives me like 2009 vibes that they're just not fun. They're like 2009 by the pool vibes, but it's not like you're not eating like that good sandwich before going back into the pool. You're eating like some crappy PB&J that your mom made you that's like lopsided.
Ooh,
yeah,
valid.
That's what I think of.
Valid. All right. There is like a couple of news topics, but the one that I would like to start with first is NASCAR is trying to expand, as maybe you guys know, they're like really trying to expand these like street courses and stuff like that. Some tracks that are, or some places that are rumored: Mexico, Colorado, Los Angeles, a street course in Los Angeles, I think. I think one was like Paris or something like that, or Montreal, one of the two. And they're in talks to have a series in Mexico, kind of like the Pinty series.
Yeah, and they've also had talks about New York as well. And
thank you.
Yeah, and me and Mike were talking about it the other day. There's just no market, and I just think it's such a wide variety where it could end up screwing them up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really know if that would be a good idea per se. And
I agree.
The problem is I don't feel like it's let's spread NASCAR motivated. It feels like money motivated, and that's never.
I completely agree.
Yes. And I don't like that feeling. It'd be different if it's like, hey, we're just trying to spread NASCAR. We love the joy. But it feels like money, like we're being paid, so we're going to take some tracks out maybe, or it's just a scary thought to me.
Right.
I don't know where I could see this headed. And, although some of those places do sound cool, it's like, how cool could they really get? You know what I mean? And I will say the only one that I'd actually be excited for, and I don't know if this would really even play into it, but I kind of think it would, is Colorado, because Colorado, just like in other sports, deals with elevation. So I kind of wonder how NASCAR would handle that,
Yeah.
That's the only one that would kind of be cool. But besides that, they all sound like cool ideas, but it just doesn't seem like they really want to go there for the right
market.
reason. Yep.
Yeah. And another thing too, real quick, like with Cam's point, Pikes Peak was a track in Colorado. I don't know if they still race there or not. But I know that used to be a thing. But the only thing I'd say is with the street courses, I just don't think it's a good idea. It's not only the money and to have to, cut off roads and stuff. It's too much. They're trying to make it too much like open wheel racing.
I agree.
Like, we already have the single lug nut. Why are you trying to go to all these street course races? And I don't mind them going to other countries. I think it would be pretty cool if they ran at Le Mans, for example, there is news about that with the 24-hour race. They're having a car for that, but like, I just don't understand what's the fascination behind some of these people's minds about a street course race. It's not that fun. I'm sorry, I don't like it. Monaco's interesting, but I mean, what other street course race do you find entertaining?
Yeah.
Honestly, like, I don't know. Detroit, I don't know. They have a fountain. That's the only cool thing about the course, to be honest with you.
Hey, bro,
and then it's Nashville.
Listen, the big news about the Detroit city street races, you might they have the little part where you have to get through a shootout. But
that's what's considered about Chicago.
Yeah. Might get yourself in the wrong part of that street course, buddy. Anyways,
well, here's my take. Sorry.
I didn't interrupt you, Mike. I was just gonna say this real quickly, is the fact that you also have to take into consideration with all these courses, like, it almost feels like they're trying to follow the trend, which in some ways following the trend is good, but when you're following the trend where it's outside of your sport and it's outside of that realm, then it just feels like you're unplaced. It's like if you put IndyCar at like Bristol, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. It's just
weird,
doesn't,
right?
Yeah, it just doesn't feel right, and it doesn't feel like it should be that way. And it almost feels like you're trying to change the sport completely. And I feel like at the end of the day, you still follow that route. Yes, NFL, for example, they can change the NFL stadiums all they want, but at the end of the day, you kind of have to base it off what your roots came from. You know what I mean? In your team. So I feel like it'd be the same way, as in, it's like, yes, you can try some of these tracks, but let's not get too European and, too out there, in my opinion. But yes, go ahead, Mike. I just wanted to bring that opinion.
So here's my take on it. First of all, you don't even know how the fans are going to react to the street course. This is not a track that has never been raced on. They just literally pulled it out of their behinds and just made it happen for money, because Chicago is a big market city for sports. I don't like the idea of it because it's not stock car racing to me. I hate to sound like kind of an old head, but it's not stock car racing to me.
Right.
These cars are too heavy for street courses, these like little narrow turns. It's not a good idea to me. But look, I said this about the Coliseum. I didn't like the idea of the Coliseum. I ended up watching the race, and I liked the idea of the Coliseum. So I want to see how it is first, but my opinion right now is that it's a terrible idea. And I feel like NASCAR is rushing too much with these street courses before we have even seen the full product. Because I understand completely they want new fans in NASCAR. But what they need to do is they need to market their personalities more. Like take Bubba Wallace, for example. I'm not the biggest fan of Bubba Wallace, but one thing that I can respect about him is he brings sponsorship in. 23XI has had partners like Walmart, for example, come back to the sport to sponsor. There's a couple of other big market sponsors that, Tyler Reddick just got. Market off of people that we feel are marketable. Like obviously you want to talk about the champ right now, Joey Logano. Try to market some drivers with more personalities as well that people want to sponsor, that want to throw money into, like Bubba Wallace, because he's an African-American driver and there's not that many of them in the sport. Or Haley Deegan, for example. She's a woman driver and people want to sponsor her because she's a woman. And she's kind of that marketable personality with her YouTube channel. And I hate to sound kind of sexist, but her looks too. She's a pretty lady, and she can bring more people into the sport. She has like 1 million followers on like TikTok or Instagram, or probably even both. So
most of them are probably 40-year-olds, but go ahead.
Yeah.
But people like them can bring more people into NASCAR. Bringing it in to a market that you don't even know exists is kind of dumb. Like Mexico, I could understand because of Suarez, and the Mexican fans might rally more around Suarez. We've seen him already with the Daniels Amigos Club. Some of the races he brings in a lot of the Mexican fans because the Mexican people want to support a Mexican driver, kind of like how Americans would want to support an American Formula One driver because it's just such a rarity.
Yeah.
I feel like going to some of these cities where you don't know if there's going to be interest from fans is a stupid marketing move, because let's say you do finalize a deal in like New York, which is a high traffic area, you're going to have to shut down the roads, and you don't know if people are going to want to go there, and it's going to be a mess, traffic. You don't know the fans are going to enjoy it. I feel like testing it with Chicago, seeing how the cars run on a street course. They haven't even tested that much, I don't even think. I think the only time I saw them test was like an iRacing event or whatever. But yeah, I don't like the idea of the street course, but I'm willing to give it a shot just because I'm a fan of the sport.
Two more things I'd like to say too, and also bring awareness to, is one is NASCAR is still trying to find out the problems with their cars now in the the tracks they're working on. So how are they going to find out the safety for the city races and other races that they've never even really tried out before? I mean, and we've known, Mike and Christian both said it, NASCAR is known to rush things, and I would not be surprised if they've rushed this way just to rush it, to make the money, to make the marketing. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a big time business, and we hope and pray that they care about their people and their drivers, but it's like, businesses work the way they do. My other thing I was going to say is, I don't want to put this in people's heads, and I don't even know if we're going to keep this on the podcast. I mean, we might, but something that I would like to say is, sadly, there's a lot of sick people out there. And so when you're in a big city and you have a popular event, like let's say New York, Chicago, California, things can go wrong pretty quick. And I think that's something that NASCAR should think about before making something like that. So I'd hope they'd had security, and I hope they have everything planned out and leveled out right, because if not, things could go wrong immensely.
Right. And another point that I would like to bring up, Cam might like my point here, but look at the UFC, for example, and how Dana White, Hunter Campbell, and all them have done a great job with promoting the UFC, even though it's a pay-per-view event. They have big name fights that the people want to see. People always are saying every day the fights that they want to see, and a lot of the times the fight promoters at the UFC get it right. They know where their markets are. Like take Brazil, for example. I don't know how many of you guys, again, I don't know how many of you guys watch the UFC. Me and Cam do watch the UFC. They have a big market in Brazil, and a lot of Brazilian fighters. So what does the UFC do? They go to Brazil. They listen to their market. They look at the stats of how many fans like that. But NASCAR, on the other hand, just they see a big city. They just want to go there just because they want to go to a big city, not because it has a market and it could draw more fans.
Yeah, and
it also.
Go ahead, Christian.
It also goes into listening to the fans. Like, the UFC listens to its fans, the NFL does, NBA does. Like, NASCAR, like, I'm just gonna. It's not to criticize NASCAR and how they promote stuff, but like, not everyone wants to see Hendrick Motorsports 5 posts today. I'm sorry, I like Sevy, but I don't want to see odds to win the 500. And not every fan wants to see betting odds and stuff. Yeah, it's a big money thing, but like, I'm sorry, I'm not big into that. I mean, to be honest with you, there is some great guys that cover that, like the Garage Guys, but I mean, like, I don't want to see, Chase Elliott's the favorite to win, and you know what he does? It does in the 500 every year, wreck. And yeah, Hendrick Motorsports pretty strong at super speedways for qualifying, but like, I mean, I feel like NASCAR just needs to listen to its fans. Most of them don't want street courses, and yeah, we've raced the Busch Series at Mexico before. I think NASCAR fans would not mind that at all. I think they would actually be okay with it. And a lot of the fans wanted Road America back. I'm not even gonna lie, I was one of those. But you know what they did? They took it off the schedule. And, with Auto Club, they're also like, oh, yeah, we need to reconfigure the track. A lot of fans didn't want it to be reconfigured. So, yeah, they do listen to their fans sometimes, but at the same time, not very often.
Yeah, it's just like Atlanta. They repaved it. Some people had mixed opinions about it. Right. Another thing, NASCAR's had multiple times where we've had petitions of over 1,000 people saying how they felt and how they didn't want something to happen, and NASCAR still did it. And so, I tell you, when you're a big company like NASCAR, sometimes it's really hard not to just hate it, because at the end of the day, they're ruining the sport that we love. So,
right.
Trust me, every once in a while, people, you will get these big time NASCAR rants. I promise you, because they just do things to make us endlessly mad.
Right. Yeah, I think this segment itself should just be a separate video just to talk about how NASCAR is really. So we might have to do that. But yeah.
Anyways, so now we go on to Rockingham, I believe, which I know Christian
wanted to talk a little bit about Rockingham. So Christian, the floor is yours, my friend.
All right, so Rockingham, they paved the track, as y'all seen photos of. If you haven't seen photos, there's one. They repaved the track over the winter, and the first event this year is actually on March the 4th. So I'm looking forward to going to that. It's an open house. We've got the Allison Legacy Race Series there for the second year in a row, and they're doing the Roval. So it's going to be very interesting. Yeah, there's going to be music and food there. It's actually free admission and free parking for fans, and we're expecting a huge turnout this year. A much bigger turnout than last year. There's going to be a lot of vintage cars as well. We got stock car classics is going to be there as well. So I'm very excited for Rockingham. And, with discussions going on with NASCAR, I could see Rockingham coming back in the next couple of years.
I would love to see NASCAR go to Rockingham. Christian is very involved. For those of you that don't know, he's very involved with like motorsports events and these events that I think people do they rent the track out, or is it just kind of like,
well, it does
what
cost
is it
money.
exactly?
It does cost money to have events at tracks, but Rockingham,
right, of course.
Rockingham has been a very special track to me over the past couple of years because I've been able to film for multiple events there. I filmed a drifting event there last year. Motorsports for the Masses and Stock Car Classics has been there for about 2 years now. So, a lot of people are like, oh, what's going on with Rockingham? There's a lot going on with Rockingham. Over the past year, there's been a lot of events here. And I think that, I really hope that this event in March catches a lot of people's eyes.
Yeah, He's very like involved with these places that go to these older tracks to kind of just to show the history of NASCAR. A lot of people have like their own stock car, bring it, and they're real NASCAR cars too, which is really, really cool. If you want more information about it, you guys should DM them. Go ahead. It's definitely, or DM the Nasboys account and I'll relay the message for them because it's truly a special thing and just a really cool experience. I haven't been able to go to one just because of like scheduling and money and all that. But, if you all want to go, definitely go check it out. It looks really, really cool.
Yeah, go follow Stock Car Classics on Instagram. It's just Stock Car Classics. They're on there and on Facebook as well. You'll see a lot more information and in depth behind what goes on with the group. So yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say too, I love how, we're kind of making old NASCAR tracks relevant again, and we're trying to get them on. I mean, North Wilkesboro, now you got Rockingham. I mean, these are very well possible in the next couple of years. I mean, I only could hope, right? We only could hope. But I would want to say, I want to give Christian some credit here. He's probably one of the truest motorsports fans I ever known. You talk about someone that just lives, eats, breathes motorsports. He is your guy. I definitely would say, go to him. His Instagram, Savage NASCAR. He has a few other ones. But he is just someone that loves the sports of motorsports, and he really does. It's almost like a religion to him in a way. So because of that, I just want to give him credit because, he's my right-hand guy. If I ever in town and I need to know, like, bro, where's the racetrack? He's probably like, I got you. Christian's just that type of guy, man. So I wanted to give him credit,
Well, thank you for that, Cam. And yeah, I mean, motorsports is a big thing for me, but obviously it's not my religion, but it is, what I'm passionate about. And it's what I feel like I've been called to do, work in the media industry and work in motorsports. But God's my number one. I can't do it without him. He's blessed me very much. And I give all credit to him. But that's all I really have about Rockingham. We got Auto Club this upcoming weekend. This is the last race we'll have in the current reconfiguration.
Yeah, I thought that they were gonna repave it over the off season, but they didn't. So I guess we got the same track. I'm sort of looking forward to this race. Last year's was not too terrible. I think that for my pick, at least starting with the Xfinity Series, my pick is Cole Custer. He dominated that race last year, and this is going to be the beginning of his championship season. So Cole Custer in the 0-0 car.
Custer is someone I definitely looked at for this race, and the Xfinity race at Auto Club has not been that great over the past couple of years as the Cup Series. And I don't want to see them get rid of the current layout, but that's what it looks like is the case at times. They keep saying, oh, yeah, they're not going to. Yeah, they're going to. But you know what? I was thinking about Custer, but because Mike did it, I'm going to choose someone different. I'm going to say Austin Hill goes back to back.
Oh, man. What am I going to pick, dude? I'm going to go Custer, too, probably, man, if that's going to be the case. It's at Auto Club.
Imagine he wins and I'm the only one that doesn't pick him. Again.
I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. I think one thing that we did want to talk about was that we wanted to do like a points format. Are we all in agreement that we're going to do the points format? I forgot to ask that last week.
For our picks?
Yeah. What do you mean? What do you mean by
so what I propose, you guys are going to get a live discussion here. What I propose is that if we get the pick right, it's 5 points. If we get the pick wrong, but they finish ahead of everybody, then it's 2 points. So let's say Cole Custer wins, right? Then me and Cam get 5 points. But if he finishes ahead of Austin Hill, then me and Cam will get 2 points each.
What I was thinking too? If the driver we pick finishes in the top 10, they get 1 point. If they get in the top 5, they get 2 points. And I was thinking if they back or they finish below the top 10, you get 0 points.
That's perfect. You guys heard it here first. We're gonna compete against each other this year with our picks to try to make it more fun.
I have a better idea. How about this? Let's make it more interesting. How about if they don't get in the top 10 or top 5, that you get none, right? You guys just stays where they're at. But if they wreck, you get 1 point taken off.
Ooh, so negative points if it's 0.
That
Just
means
one.
I'd already be negative because I have Blaney.
And Hamrick.
Yeah.
I'm done.
All right.
My season's over.
Well, we don't have to agree to that. If you don't want to agree to that, we don't have to.
No, I think it's cool. I'm fine with it.
All right, so Christian is already at -2 or -1, actually. What was your pick for the trucks? Sammy Smith? Yeah, it was Sammy Smith. So you're at like -2 or 3 right now.
For real.
Sheesh.
So I'm at 0 because I sadly wasn't able to pick with the guys. I got caught up in some things.
Winning.
No, Cam should get -5 for not picking.
Bro, I had work.
So did I, but I still picked.
Uh-oh.
You had work when you I did. Hold on, time out now. Let's get this correct. When you texted me, were you at work? Because I was at work.
I was at work.
Were you really? Oh, I was busy, dog. I was over there cleaning dishes. I was on my
fine, dude. I was just getting Cam. I was just giving you crap, anyways. I'm just having fun.
Yeah, but yeah, no. So I'd be at 0. So then, okay, I have a question, real quick. Since it's a live conversation, why not? Let's roll with it. Are we going to have kind of like a thing, like whoever gets the most points? Is there like a reward? Like, what's that going to be? Is there anything, or is just kind of like, is the reward going to be like a haha, I'm better than both you? You guys suck.
Oh, man, we could probably. Do you guys want to have like a pot or something? Like
I don't know. Payout.
I don't know about
$20 for the winner. Nah,
that's too much. That's too low though for doing money.
There, I was just using $20. I don't know. We'll talk about that later off camera.
We will. Actually, matter of fact, I have some ideas here in the comments below. Tell us if you have any good ideas for the winner, and maybe we'll even think about, if not the winner getting something, the losers maybe have to do something or something like that.
The losers will have to do a dare and the winner gets something, and the guy in the middle doesn't have
to
do anything.
It's either the winner gets something and the losers do a dare, or I was thinking either the winner gets something, the losers don't get anything, or the winner doesn't get anything, but they get the satisfaction of seeing the two losers do something. So
how about the winner gets a prize, the guy in second, I don't know. The guy in second can get like a little prize, and then the guy who finished third has to do a dare.
Yeah, we can figure it out. Whatever. Anyways, my point is, though, let us know in the comments for winners and the losers what we could have some ideas for. That's really it.
Yeah. So now for the Cup Series, I'm going to go ahead and say Tyler Reddick gets his first win for 23-11. He looked really strong in this race last season, but unfortunately he had a flat tire. So I think he will get his first win for 23-11 and will lock himself into the playoffs.
The thing is with Reddick, it's a different team, and yeah, he ran well until he had that tire go down. Last year he got ran to by Byron. My thing is, I think 23XI is overrated. I'm just being honest with you. I didn't have high expectations for them last year. Yeah, they maybe got a win, but what else did they do? 20th. They had some good, decent races, but I just feel like they're overhyped. They still have room for development. And I mean, to be honest with you, Keselowski was someone I was thinking of for this race, but he had a lot of problems last year, so I'm not going with him. Hendrick was strong last year, so Hendrick's always a contender to win at Auto Club. And it's really hard for me to come up with someone that I think that could win. I was thinking of Logano maybe, but I'm actually not going to go with him. I'm going to go with Hendrick. I'm just going to go with my gut since they were really strong there last season. I'm going to say that the winner of Auto Club is either going to be Alex Bowman or Denny Hamlin. So I'm going to go with Bowman.
Denny Hamlin.
Okay.
Bowman. Okay, that's a good pick.
All right, I'm going to tell you guys. So I'm kind of stuck between two here. I'm stuck between William Byron and Truex Jr. Both of them I kind of think do good at Auto Club. Originally, which you guys missed it, but I'm going to blooper myself anyways. They were talking about Xfinity, and I was thinking they were talking about Cup for some dumb reason. And I'll be honest, I wasn't paying attention on accident. But I picked Truex, but I'm kind of thinking I'm going to go. I think I'm going Byron. I think I'm going to stick with Byron.
Byron. All right.
That's not a bad pick. Byron ran decent last year too. And, Larson was really good also. That's a guy that I think could be a contender to win as well.
All right. And so with that will conclude this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. Make sure you guys follow our socials. Join the Nasboys Fantasy League. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.
Calling now, you want me calling now, you want it, what